Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Dreamers Game 1, where we are playing Yomi. This is turn 79. Let's jump into things. So, off the top, we have a couple of remotes. Some manifestations versus Ermor. Let's see what we snag and how successful we are. We've got an augur with nothing on them. Let's see if they are able to pull out the win, and no, that is not going to happen. Okay. Another manifestation. Another augur. 38 damage. One tapped. Another manifestation. Alright, here we go. We get some actual prizes. We get a white mage. Deleted. Nice. Okay, so we had some remotes, a bunch of manifestations. So 3 wins and 0 losses versus Ermor. Pretty good. I think, there is some argument that, we're not getting super big fishes all the time with our manifestations. And that is a lot of death gems that we are putting into the ground there. I think that we have hit enough Augur Elders and White Mages from the Augur Elders, right? To justify the amount that we are spending. There is potentially the concept, though, that at this point against Ermor, it might just be better to hold our Death Mages, or Death Gems, and be able to utilize them against someone else, right? In the future. But it is what it is. So. Anyways. We've got some site searching. Voice of Apsu finds nothing. Haruspex finds nothing. Another Voice of Apsu finds a wellspring of secrets in Sulfuria. That is over here, and that is actually a +1 water site. This location's actually pretty good. 1,000 things. Enchanted Windmill, Wellspring of Secrets, and an Iron Cliff. Like, very, very nice. I don't know why I skipped the Iron Cliff initially. My bad. We've got an Arcane Probing, an Auspex, another Arcane Probing found nothing, Dark Knowledge found nothing, another Auspex found nothing, another Arcane Probing found nothing, another Augury found nothing, or I think that was the first Augury, and a Gnome Lord found an Iron Cliff in Sulfuria. So, nice. We also did 27 Blood Slaves this turn. So gem income is water +1, earth +1, and blood +27. So pretty decent. We'll take that. Got some battles. We attacked the Indies in Hinwood. This should be a no competition situation for Hirofumi. Fire Shield. Blessing, Iron Skin, Temper Flesh, and Summon Earth Power. And these mannequins in Mandragora just kill themselves, right? Like Fire Shield in this particular instance, they have fire susceptibility, they have range. Actually, the vines I do think have some range on them, but regardless, they have claws that have no reach on them. They just destroy themselves. Easy peasy. We get hit in Kolar Megger, where we no longer are, but we can see he is pulling together his forces. Big stack of Ether Warriors, very dangerous. Little bit of Principe, no real mage support, but he has got a Tartarian Monstrum back here, and there's another Tart, yeah, right here. Neither of these have been Gift of Reason or anything like that, so they're not much more than just really big bags of hit points right now. Really big bags of hit points that hit really hard, but really big bags of hit points nonetheless. So, the big scary thing about this is these fucking chop shop Ether Warriors. And that blink guy. That blink guy is actually kind of scary for us. So we lose Color Megger. We take Pannonia in response. We take Loreborer in response. And we take Jankeep in response. I will say this. It is one thing, right? It is one thing to not put any PD in your provinces. 1 point, 1 gold worth of PD in your provinces. It is one thing not to do that when you know you are getting constantly raided. I think, from a strategic standpoint, you absolutely should still do that, because every time you do that, it costs you 1 gold to basically have a scout tell you exactly what is happening in that province. Okay? Which I think is definitely worth the value. But I can, people are going to argue that and they'll be like, yeah, it's 1 gold per province, but if you're getting raided in 10 provinces, it's 10 gold per province over the course of a 20, turn war. That matters, or that can matter, right? Potentially. I think it's worth it. I would argue for it every single time. But what I will absolutely say you should do every single time is you should put some PD back on your fort, even if it is just 1 PD. Because, now, if you don't put any PD back on your fort, you have no idea what has landed on your fortification. It's one thing to not know what's strolling around your provinces, but it's an entirely different thing to not know what has landed on your fortification, because then you have no idea how to defend your fort, right? Absolutely, you should put PD back on your forts. Anyways, moving on. We get to witness a fight in Florian between Ubar and Helheim, and hold up. Where's Florian? Okay, so this is interesting. Florian is right fucking next to where we got mine hunted twice last turn, right? Right next to where Procus was last turn. And in point of fact, I think we're seeing this because he moved into this. So I just find that really interesting that we got mine hunted twice in that province and then immediately see something. It's coincidence. Guaranteed coincidence. Maybe. Okay, this guy is a lifelong protection, Ring of Returning, Shaitan from Ubar. We've seen these several times. I think I was critical of it the first time I saw it, because I was like, well, I mean, if you're going to be doing that, why, et cetera, et cetera. But what I feel like the scenario is that this lifelong protection is a lot of blood investment. From what I don't think Ubar is a heavy blood nation, right? There's a lot of blood investment, and these Shaitan are not cheap, not easy to come by. So I believe this is a relatively effective way to try to defend them. The only thing that I would be somewhat critical of at this point is that these guys are relatively low MR, right? So I do think that they can be sniped with mind hunts. Because I think the way that mind hunt works, right, is like, so, well, maybe you can't. I don't remember how that necessarily works, right? If you go stealthy, right, like if you attack a province and then you're gonna stealth out of the province, stealthing units, I believe, still move at the same time as all other moving units, right? They still move in the same tick of the turn, right? But magic phase attacks happen prior to that. However, I think if you give them a stealthy order, they are immediately stealthy even prior to their move. So it's not like they're sitting around in this province just like, ha 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 ha, right? They stealth at the beginning of the turn, This is how I believe it to be, so I might be completely wrong. They stealth at the beginning of the turn, and then they move out of it. So if you like cloud trapeze or you teleport onto someone who is a stealthy unit and they are stealthing out of the province, you won't catch them, right? They're gone. They've already hidden themselves. But I think you can still mind hunt that province and potentially hit them. So if that is the case, and I could be wrong, right? If that is the case, this is very low MR for such a large investment. 5, 15, 20, 25, 40. Probably count this as like 10 gems. I think a 1-to-4 ratio for blood is fine, right? So that's like 50 gems on a unit that has 16 magic resistance, right? That's definitely mind huntable. And I think we've seen either I thought, right, that we had seen Helheim mind hunting things previously. But that might not be the case. We might have gotten hit by other miscellaneous mind hunts, or witnessed other like potentials for mind hunts. So I'm kind of unsure of what the situation is. I haven't validated my assumptions on how this shit works, so I could be wrong on a mechanic. And the thing about Dominions is if you were wrong, even just slightly wrong on a particular mechanic, it can have vast ripples on your understanding of what actually could happen. Because if I'm wrong, for example, on the mechanic of when a unit becomes stealthy in the turn, that in and of itself has vast implications over the entire course of my thought process, right? So that is all of that is to say that at the beginning, when I first started seeing Ubar do these Shaitan, Ring of Returning, Lifelong Protection thugs, I was like, that doesn't make sense. That's a weird thing to do. Now I'm like, actually, I think it makes a whole lot of sense, and I think it's really, really nice to do. But I would change it now, knowing what I think I know. I would probably change this, and I wouldn't put like a Vine Shield on here. The scenario is if you're getting hit, right? Like if someone comes over here to try to hit you with a Vine Shield, they're gonna hit you with something that's big enough to kill you, like a Moonblade or something like that. So it's not gonna matter with your Ring of Returning. The Vine Shield's gonna try to stop that, sure, right? But like I think the potential for getting Soul Slayed or Mind Hunted is potentially worse. I would probably put something like a Lead Shield on here to try to avoid that situation. And then maybe like instead of a Frost Brand, because you're not killing people with your weapons here. This Shaitan is not killing PD with their weapons. They're killing PD with their lifelong protection. They're 30,000 imps, right? So like putting on a lead shield puts your magic resistance up high enough to avoid getting Soul Slayed or Mind Hunted easily, right? Putting on something like a repel weapon, right? Like could help. Putting on anything length 5, like a whip or something like that. I think most whips are length 5. Could really help. You could do the shock whip, and that could give you some AoE if you're still looking for like AoE. And even to the point to where, like, again, Armor of the Knights. I love Armor of the Knights. It's a fantastic armor, but maybe something like Mirror Armor or something else to like, I don't know, buff your MR or something like that. I just don't know that. I don't know. This is probably fine. These are fine. I'm critiquing something that's already working really well. so this is Monday night quarterbacking at its fucking finest, is being overly critical of something that is already working really well. Here's another thing, though, I will say. Like, this is a caster, right? This is a very valuable caster that you're trying to flood the field with imps on. Why is this guy moving forward? Why is this guy approaching and casting spells? Right? Like, absolutely not. I guess the fear could be like, you know, maybe there's something here to catch this Shaitan that long distance spells aren't going to deal with, right? And that the imps aren't going to deal with, so you want them on approach and cast spells, but I don't know. That feels sketch to me. That feels like you're hastening to them to their doom, potentially. My god, I'm in a blathering mood. Let's move on. We attacked Donnermark. Because, I mean, Relay had been sitting here with the remnants of whatever force this was forever. And in point of fact, there's actually a Mind Lord here. We've got Shub Chitug, the Mind Lord. This is not an inexpensive mage. These things are very valuable. But I guess Relay was just like, oh well, I'm not gonna build a lab here just to teleport this guy out. It's not worth it, right? But he also, I will say this, he also didn't communicate with me anything about this. I absolutely would have been like, hey, I can just not, like, tell me which provinces you want to try to move to, and I won't move to those provinces, right? Like, you might still run into Ermor on the way back, but I won't fight you over them. So I totally would have tried to work with Relay to let him walk out of here with a mage like this. But like I said, I think I talked about this at the end of the last episode, but I think Relay's player, who is a sub in this game, was basically just like, I tried something against Ermor and then it didn't really work out, so I'm just gonna kind of like, I'm just gonna do my turns and be a presence, but I'm not really gonna worry about things. So let's see if anything big happens. Oh, we have so many Akaoni here that, like, that's so much fire coming out. And armor, so Throw Flames is actually armor piercing, so it's low damage, but it actually does more damage than one might think. Anyways, we had a lot of battles that turn. Well, we took a lot of land that turn. We didn't actually have a lot of battles. So battles this turn, we had battles versus Ermor. We had 4 wins and 1 loss. Versus Relay, we had 1 win and 0 losses. And versus Indies, we had 0 wins and 1 loss. That is incorrect. Why do I have 0 wins and 1 loss there? We won in 1. So let me fix that. It's gonna be fixed when y'all see it. It's incorrect when I'm looking at my notes. So okay, that is that. My great notes. We've got some events. Unexpected event in Sulfuria. Rebirth event there. Province income in Llama. Always nice. Llama is over here, so a little boost to province income. That's cool. We've got a handful of gems found in the shards of a broken mirror. 5 air gems in Grey Mountains. And in Jaburo, villains have tried to seize control of the province. This is why we have it. I didn't, let me update this. We have another battle, and we lost this one. I'm assuming. Yep, definitely gonna lose this. Well, I say that, but if they hadn't sniped the commander, then we might have actually been able to win from the Ko-Onis. But that was not the case, so that is why we have a loss. We have 1 win and 1 loss versus the Indies. So, all right. Oh, right. Events. So for events, we had air +5. And I am scatterbrained. I'm scatterbrained and chatty, which is like the worst combination. So I want to chat and chat and chat and talk about things, but I'm also really bad with my notes, apparently. So, my conversation is going to be all over the place. What are we doing this fucking turn? Totally did miss that Dione last turn. We are moving people around for Oni consolidation. That's happening. No big deal there. We got hit in Jibero, so we just brought Akeno over from Jibero, so we're just gonna send him right back and smash that group of villains and take that back, right? We are marching to Sulfuria, rather than Dershid. So I think what I have determined is that I don't want to try to deal with the Ermorian army, the big one in Ermor's capital, until I have Alt 9, right? So Alt 9, we know, gives us access to Army of Gold, Army of Lead. In our particular case, Army of Gold and Army of Lead are both pretty good for us. Either one would be super useful here. I don't want to try to fight them until I have access to that, which we only have like 3 to 4 more turns depending on situations. Okay, so we're gonna move up to Sulfuria, and that's gonna give us the ability to posture down then towards Ermor, or to go towards Belfields and Jankeep, or to break into multiple forces and go in multiple directions. So, that's just the generalized plan. We're also kind of dancing around trying to not get hit by these Ether Warriors. We are, again, I do not know why I am doing it this way. I just, honestly, I do not know what to tell you. But this is what my dumb lizard brain has decided to do. 1, we're staying sieging on Jankeep. 2, we're risking a bump with the Ether Warrior army here in Belmar with this group, with Akasada, Yuichi, Yukihide, and Kintoshi. With the idea that we are going to chaff them up a bit with Horde of Skeletons from Akasada and Kintoshi, and then attack their rear with Yuichi and Yukihide to try to snipe one of their leaders. But I don't think that is an option. If we take a look at Kohler Megger, I think this is a bad choice on my pros. So, if we take a look at Kohler Megger, right? This guy's going to come in almost immediately. If we bump in this way, this guy's going to come in almost immediately. So, we could deal with him. It's not a big deal. But I don't think we're going to deal with him so fast that this group does not get to us, and we are able to jump and land on these 2 Ether Lords. Because that's what we would have to do, is we would have to jump and land on these 2 Ether Lords and pop them basically immediately. Otherwise, we're just super fucked. And I say otherwise, but actually, point in fact, there's a Centurion here and a Bane here. Doesn't matter. I remember. The Ether Lords are the only magical leadership here. So if the Ether Lords die, the Ether Warriors are boned, right? Just like Undead, they're gone. They have to have magical leadership. So the Bane and the Centurion are kind of irrelevant. But I think, yeah, so are the Juggernauts. But again, I think that this is a super risky bump to try to do this. This is a very low commitment, I keep saying low commitment, right? But this is actually high commitment. This is 6 turns of capital recruitment and a shit ton of gems on our very expensive cap-only mages. This is a high commitment, low success option that I shouldn't be doing. It would be one thing, right? It would be one thing if I was like, okay, here, I will join them up with Manhate and Feartongue. Manhate and Feartongue can really help supplement the amount of skeletons that we'll be able to produce, and we'll pull in Junichi and Yuki as well. They can either be additional people to attack rear or more skeletons added to the mix. And that is a big commitment, but a much higher chance of success, right? But no, I'm not doing that. This is a dumb move. And if I get caught out and I get punished for it, that is absolutely my own fault. I realize in hindsight with what I am doing, facing off against Ermor, that a lot of these attacks are incredibly disrespectful and incredibly greedy. So, do as I say, not as I do. Okay? Moving on. Because that's really it. We've talked about the state of the world. Lanka is devouring portions of Helheim. Ubar is devouring portions of Helheim. Helheim is doing the best that they can. They've done a great job so far, but there's only so much that you can do in an extended 2v1 like that. With other nations offering assistance to the two rather than the one, you know? So, yeah. There's not much to say about that particular. Let's talk about recruitment. Recruitment this turn. We've got... I have it listed as a Lizard King, and that is incorrect. Let me fix that. We are only doing one bit of recruitment, and that is up here. One Lizard Shaman. Boom. Talked about this a while back. We're basically just formulating a small communion here, right? We want enough people to be able to support our sorceress and our wizard, and potentially have the ability to throw up some nature spells as well, depending on the situation. So we've got 4 already. We got a 5th one on the way. Probably go up to something like 10-ish. Not 10 for the full communion, but I don't know. 10 lizards, just to kind of like round things out. I think that's close to what we have over here in Ancient Woods. We probably should have a 3rd contingent down here as well in our capital or in the below, somewhere around there, but we do not. So there's that. We've got a fair amount of rituals this turn. We've got 1 Augury, 2 Auspex, 2 Voice of Apsu, 1 Gnome Lore, 3 Arcane Probing, 1 Dark Knowledge, 1 Horospex, so there's all our site searching. 9 Corpse Constructions, okay, round 57 on the Corpse Constructions. And then we've got another Fairy Court, another Troll King's Court, a Revive King, and 3 more Manifestations. So, Fairy Court, honestly, I just think the Fairy Queens are very useful to us, and we need to have access to... We don't have a lot of nature. These are some of the easiest ways to get good nature. Put a Thistle Mace on them, boom, they're done. They're way more mobile than the Lizard Shamans. Even air, right? They're not as good for boost. Air's just harder to boost up into, right? The sorceresses in a communion are just easier to do that than the Fairy Queens are. But even without that, Fairy Queens can still do things like Wind Guide or, what's the blocking? I don't remember. How's that? Doing the wrong thing. Arrowfend. Yeah. So Arrowfend, Wind Guide, those things are super easy. Can do Mass Flight, right? Like 3 gem cost, Mass Flight. Can do things like Thunderfend. So still very useful for air. And we're really not doing anything with our nature gems outside of general forging. So I think Fairy Court, Fairy Queens are basically the best thing that we're going to get out of this, probably for the foreseeable future. And I want some in this army. So that's what we're doing. And then the Troll King's Court is honestly kind of a bad decision, I think. We can already see our income is starting to take a hit. This is going to add to that. Most of my opinions on like the Troll King's Court and the Sea King's Court and stuff like that does come from a hindsight situation, so I'm kind of like speaking, I'm giving this parable after the fact because I learned from it. This is gonna get us in trouble. We're gonna have some upkeep issues because we keep using these troll summons. They're not bad, do not get me wrong, but they come with a cost, and I have to be cognizant of that. But we are going to get some decent power out of them that we might use in the near future. Sending out like a little troll army with the ability to do things like Army of Lead to deal with some of that fire resistance issue, and put things like regeneration on them, etc., and they become a threat. They actually do. So there's that. The Revive King, I need some more undead leadership, no big deal there. And everything else is normal. So, the last little thing that we have is Odie putting his face on stuff. Putting your face on stuff. You bad boy. You bad boy. Stop that. Don't touch. Don't you touch me either. Anyways. We've got very little forging this turn. Hey, stop that. We got very little forging this turn. We've got 1 Bloodstone and 1 Ring of Returning. That is it. So the Bloodstone, we are trying to round out our little kit of Earth Boots and Bloodstones. This is primarily for either Die Oni that have high Earth Paths or Troll Kings to be able to get up to Earth 5 very easily so that they can be our army of casters. Army of casters and maybe weapons of sharpness depending on where we go from here. And then the Ring of Returning is because Ring of Returning is actually really good, and I think I need to have access to that. We might start doing some Ring of Returning plays ourselves in the near future, but not for right now. So that is the turn. Not a whole lot of crazy stuff happening. Pretty simple. Moving towards Urmor. Hopefully gonna have not a crazy amount of resistance against them. Hopefully I don't get my nose bloodied too terribly much. And we'll see how things go in the next few turns. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.